Hello, Tareck Adeeb community. Just a little bit late, 4 minutes late. Punctuality is a thing that is very important with consistency, and it's not always easy to do when there's so much going on all the time. And literally, all of this year has been like that for me. It really has sucked a lot, and it's the sort of things that can make you go crazy. You know, like I always find that Jerry Maguire movie really funny. You know. When he's going to flip out. It's such a wonderful scene because he's got so much pressure and he's got a belief in himself and he wants to succeed, and all of these things result in this kind of, like, again, it's what nervous breakdowns, you know, and complete stress occurs when you're trying to, you know, be your authentic self. You're trying to show up on time. You're trying to do everything you possibly can to make things work, and then there's always these extraneous or, you know, influences in the world that, you know, and it can be in your environment too. You know, it could be just things when you think are not going according to plan. And it's beautiful is the film Groundhog Day as well. I think it's a fantastic movie, that, you know, the way that he starts to understand how he needs to change. You know, again, it always starts with yourself. You know, how are you going to change internally in order to, you know, deal with your environment? And we were chatting to someone yesterday about the brilliant book Man's Search for Meaning, you know, Viktor Frankl, which is a heinous story, you know, about the experience of someone in a concentration camp and literally living in hell. And how does he make the difference? How does he find curiosity? How does he find the observer mind, you know, when everything seems to be going so difficult? You know, everything just, it doesn't stop, you know, being challenging. And I mean, that is the most extreme example. That's like living in hell. You know, like any negative thought you might have or any doubt you might have just leads to death. I mean, that's just the most extreme example of that. And, you know, the blessings of, you know, again, the will to power, you know, the power of one's purpose, you know, understanding why they are here. And therefore, you know, you're in the most darkest place, and yet you can still find a meaning in it. You know, it's so prolific. It's such a profound awareness to have. And it really puts light on your situation then. Let's say, you know, yes, I might have turned up late today, for example. There's been so many things that I've been waiting to get out into the world. It's still taking forever to do. And I could get stressed by that. You know, I could give up at times like that. I could think, oh, it's never going to happen. You know, again, if you've ever watched that thing called The Secret, you know, the documentary about the law of attraction and how the universe works. And there's always interesting information in there because a lot of it is universal truths. And he talks about how, like, you know, they've got this intention that's just about to come up, you know, like as in a flower, you know, it's just about to bloom, or you're going to see signs of your intention start to manifest. And you've got all those good feeling thoughts and you're really focused on the vision, the intention of it occurring, i.e. seeing your dream become realised, seeing your internal purpose as within, you know, and how that starts to manifest as without. And you give up, you know, just before it's about to bear fruit, you know. It's like you trip up at the last hurdle. You know, you have all this belief, you have all this manifestation, this conjuring within the ethereal realm, you know, within the space in between, I call it, or the imaginal. And the seeing is believing, you know, or the believing is seeing starts to become realised. But then you go into the seeing is believing, you give up, you don't see it, and then, you know, that flower never emerges, you know, it never comes up, you never see it. And then you go into a negative path of, it's bullshit, it doesn't exist, that's just folly, you know. You know, you go into a negative place, basically. You know, you don't go into a positive place. Again, if you watch The Secret, it talks about how positive, you know, emotions compared to negative emotions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, you know, there's always things that can get in the way of our dreams becoming realised. There's always a potential to go into a fear vibration rather than a love vibration. And, you know, relationships, again, this is the Venus retrograde that we're in right now, is the most prolific example of all of this sort of stuff occurring. I mean, look, if you're in harmony and you're in peace and you're in the flow, then this might be a great time in terms of relationship dynamic, because maybe the extraneous or the external world, because it is too much. I mean, it is crazy what's going on at the moment. I mean, it's very, very easy to lose hope at times like this. It's very, very easy to give up, you know, on the path to peace, you know, to see the world is about to end. Are you going to the fear matrix, the apocalypse? And yes, there are loads of information out there, Nostradamus, even religious texts, that talk about this time, you know, the end times, and it is the end times. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the death of everything. See, that is, again, the dysfunction of the understanding, the awareness of the true nature of reality. That is fixed on the third dimensional thinking, the linear thinking, the masculine, if you want to call it that, compared to the holistic thinking, the whole thinking, which is a combination of the male and the female. It's the divine, let's say, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional insights, where we move beyond the samsara, you know, as the Buddhists would call it, move beyond the third dimensional fixed, you know, thinking, rather than going into the imaginal, going into the higher thinking, understanding that life always continues on. Yes, when we come into these crises, when we come into these shifts in timelines, then yes, there's going to be fallout. There's going to be the end of things. So, for example, many ancient civilizations ended, and then there was new civilizations that were born. Time of Atlantis, for example, if you study that stuff, even though, again, it's a bit of a myth, really, it's still, you know, understanding that whole civilization went. And even like a lot of Native American, they talk about things happening where they all went into the caves, you know, and this is to do with all the magnetic pole shifts. I don't want to get too much into that. But there's been so many times where potentially this has happened, where there's been end times, if you want to call it that. However, what people forget, again, when you're in that mundane, or you're in the third dimensional thinking, when you are confined to the world of samsara, you haven't moved to the elevated place of nirvana, or you haven't really understood the power of the different dimensions that exist, you know, because we're limited. We're stuck in, let's say, science, you know, we're stuck in man-made dogma. You know, we're not moving beyond out of the linear kind of thinking, you know, and that's what's required now. That's what the Age of Aquarius is about, by the way. Yes, there's lots of interpretations about the Age of Aquarius, you know. It could be authoritarian, it could be dystopian, it could be, you know, hive mind, collective consciousness, collective creativeness. But actually, really, it's to do with the imagination. And it's what Einstein talked about, you know. Most of the best people, or the most genius people, because that's also Aquarius, that's genius, they think beyond the Dharma, you know, they think beyond the samsara, which is basically the world of form. You know, even in the 10,000 Things in Lao Tzu's philosophy, he talks about the Tao. The Tao is not the 10,000 things, the world of form. It is beyond. It is the infinite. It is the everything and nothing. You know, and that is really exactly what Aquarius is about. It's to do with non-attachment. It's about, and I see it as being in the heart, and that's the irony of it all. Aquarius, the opposite of Aquarius, is Leo. Leo is the heart. So when we're looking at this timeline, it's all about the heart, you know, in terms of relationship dynamic. There's a male and a female. That's how it works. There is a gender difference, you know. Yes, if you want to go into the idea of the one, then again, fourth dimensional, we move beyond the difference because it's unilateral, it's combined, but there still is something that comes beyond the one. There still is something that is created to create the one, which is an evolution. And when we get to that evolution of fourth, fifth dimensional thinking, then none of this separatism, i.e. male, female, is that conflict of male and female has gone, because it's common sense then to understand that both exist and both are in harmony together. All wars, all gender differences, everything is created within that polarity right now. But it exists, and it always will exist, even if we're in a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional frequency. We still will have that difference of gender, male, female, even if it's harmonized to create, like say, a new dimension. It still will exist. There always will be polarity in the nature of natural law. So we have to learn to be in harmony with the male and female, and that's why this Venus retrograde is so important, because right now all of this stuff is coming up. So if we are in a harmonious relationship, we are, let's say, thoughtful parents, bringing up children in this world right now, then this time could be really good in the sense like, you know what, I've got your back, you've got my back, we've both got each other's back, we're a team, we're disciplining our child, because that has to happen, We're also giving our child unconditional love in order for us to be a strong family, because that's what the key to this time is all about as well. Again, we can look at the Maya, we can look at the world of form, we can look at this agenda, we can look at this evolution that is occurring right now. We can see the hypocrisy of it, we can see the dysfunction of it, we can see that there is a subversive element occurring in the world right now that can lend to conspiracy, it can lend to paranoia, it can lend to fear. None of that has to be completely discounted, but it needs to be put in its right place. It needs to be put in the order of things. Because if you can look at your life right now, despite the world out there seeming scary, we can put it into its right context, which is the world is changing. We've got to adapt to the change, Yes, it could seem terrifying, AI, AGI, all of these sorts of things. But how are we going to move through? Because we will move through, that's the thing. So just to sum it up, we've got to go into the heart. We've got to go into the heart space. The heart space has a lot more power than people understand, because it is in harmony with both. It breathes as one, you see. The mind, even though we need the mind, we need the brain, perceives, cognitizes, gives us the observer aspects because we can see the world. But the problem is with the mind is that it's left and right. It cannot exist without that. That's where The Secret actually went wrong in a lot of ways, because they used those Hermetic principles, those old Platonic form stuff, if you want to go into all of that. They used all of that, the nature of the law of attraction, but because they sent it to the world where there was polarity, it might have created a lot of good things from the mind, but it also created a lot of negative from the mind. So they got both. They got good and bad. See, that's the problem when you manifest from the mind. It has that. But if you could surrender into the heart, then you are present. You are receiving. You see, you set your intention with the mind. You have to do that because we live in the world of form. We have to see the world. But if we can relax and go into the heart, we can be present. That's why it's called a present. You get the gift of the now. You get the beauty of the now. You can be in the now. And if you can do that, then eventually over time, this is where patience is so important. And also that serves you, because you might want something and realise, actually, I didn't want that. Be careful what you wish for, I want the ring of power. Then you get it, and it fucks you, So you've got to be very careful, what you manifest and what you wish for. Because not everybody knows thyself, knows what they want. Because if you understand that, there's more than enough for everyone. It's a fallacy, it's a trick, it's an illusion, all this scarcity. It really, really is. There will always be an evolution, there'll be always enough for everyone. But you've got to know thyself to know what you want. Otherwise you end up manifesting and conjuring, the wicked witch, wants all this stuff kind of thing, or the evil man, and all that kind of stuff. And then you forget the simplicity of the universe. You forget humility. You forget, you become greedy basically, potentially. That's what this, again, Western dysfunction is all about. I want, and you're not giving in equal form. The thing is, all of these Western doctrines, when they first came into the world, America, for example, in the 50s was revered around the world. It was the place, it was the future, we all want to be like that. But there was very good values connected to all of that, because they had all this new information at the time. They got it from Europe or and Europe got it from the Middle East, and China, and all these ancient histories. And obviously the Native Americans and the indigenous people, the Aborigines, they just was very connected to the land. So sadly the land got raped because they had the machines, they had the information, and there's a dysfunction now. There's a karma. There is a karma connected to the land now because of it. So there has to be forgiveness for that. And there has to be awareness, and there has to be evolution from that. It can't be like, oh, let's go get, those people who did all this and they're to blame, because that's not being in the now. Yes, there has to be accountability, because otherwise what happens is everyone goes, oh, well, that's just the way it is. These power structures are the way they are. We're all sheep and serfs and slaves anyway. I mean, that is such a mad and disappointing perspective. When you are a sovereign individual, you have an infinite amount of power within you. What it is, you forget the now. You forget to be grateful, Yeah, the world might seem crazy, and it is crazy right now. It is end times. There is change coming. There's no getting out of it. There is huge potential for catastrophe. So if you want to go into that fear vibration, But at the same time, there's a huge potential to set good intention. And all of these distractions, all of these fear matrices, they're preventing you from finding your sovereignty or personal power. They're making you forget the power of your intention. And it's not wishful thinking. It's not kind of like, it's not naive. Yeah, obviously self-defense and a call to action is absolutely essential with the law of attraction. Again, people forget that. They just want to magic things, and they might have a great power in doing that. But you've got to take action, and careful what you wish for. If you manifest, if you have that power to do that, then you've got to get ready to serve. You've got to get ready to give. That Ian Brown song, what is it? Keep what you've got by giving it all away. It's like, you've got to be mindful of that. And that's what this Uranus in Taurus is all about. It's all about non-attachment. It's all about, can you have a castle and then just give it all away, or can you just leave it? If huge amount of water is going to just, fire, whatever, you just don't know what's going to happen. There are going to be natural things that happen on the earth. There is karma. There is. So we've got to be mindful, be ready to move as well. And again, your emotions, because this is another part of it, if your emotions are in balance, if your emotions are relaxed, if you can learn to breathe, that's where the heart comes in. But the problem is with emotions, if it's in overwhelm, or if it becomes exaggerated and extreme, it can make you do crazy things, right? So again, this Venus retrograde, you get to a fear vibration and you become really angry, or you become really in fear or depressed. You think, oh, fuck it all, I'm checking out. I can't handle this anymore. Worst case scenario, we've seen some really, really sad things happen over the last 3 years, suicide, things like that, and you've got to be observant and listen to people, and as a community, see what's going on. Give people the time to be heard. And that's, again, this relationship stuff, Venus retrograde. But again, these emotions, if we're feeling like overwhelm and want to take revenge as well, it's like, oh, those bastard bankers, or, whatever it may be, there's all sorts of stuff going on that's creating a lot of negativity. And none of that is to be discounted. That's one of the biggest problems, when we just put that into denial. We don't have a place to talk about it. We don't have a way to look at the shadow side. It's so important to do that. But then not get inundated by the fear, not get caught in this negative spiral which sends you to a hellish place. It's never been a more important time to find balance and to find groundedness in a changing world, because if we are in the flow, i.e. harmony, moving to higher vibrations, then on the other side of this, in 2028, 2030, for example, the world will look very different. But because we've maintained that level of integrity, peace, sovereignty, trust, love, and that is very important, how we act out that, right? With our significant others, family. And if we start to see signs of change, i.e. positively, like, for example, you have a family member you never thought was going to meet someone, and suddenly they've met someone, right? And you can see love in front of you. What an amazing example of things are going in the right direction here, Or you start to see someone who you've always, never, again, family, never really particularly liked, or you think, oh, well, they're just, always going to be like that. And then suddenly they just have a turn of cheek, and they suddenly start calling you. And it's a weird thing to do, by the way, when you've had this negative experience with someone and suddenly they just change and call you and you think, oh yeah, I don't really get it. It's not genuine. And you never know. They might be ready to pass at that time. You've got to be careful about that. Because I'll give you, a real example. The last conversation I had with my dad before he passed, he suddenly talked to me like an adult. Like he'd always looked at me like a child. He never really took me that seriously. I mean, he was a very prolific doctor, very hardworking, very, what's the word? He made a name for himself with all the work that he did. So he looked at me and didn't see me in the same light, or it felt like that. He obviously loved me very much and, supported me in a lot of ways, but I don't think he really understood me. I was a bit out there, maybe for him, being a scientist and very, very structured and, and all that. And then I remember that last conversation what I had with him, and he just kind of like, he was he was talking to me like man to man, what did he say? He'd never done it before. He just never really done that before. So in that moment, I was like, yeah, Dad, you don't need to say this kind of thing. It's all very nice that you're doing this, but you don't need to say it. It's like, so I just sort of put the phone down and he didn't really know how to take that. Because maybe, in his soul, he was like, hey son, I'm not going to be here for much longer. So, it's time for you to man up. You're going to take the mantle now, and I'm speaking to you like a man, and it's time now to have that. And you don't know, because, someone might just call you out of the blue and you have that conversation and it's really unexpected and you're not prepared for it. So ideally what you do in life, obviously, when you have a relationship, and this is what this Venus retrograde is all about, is that you find the harmony balance. You learn how to listen, you learn how to talk. It's not one-sided, When it becomes one-sided, it's like, it's not authentic, it's fake. But hopefully in life, and it's the same with retirement, like for example, my dad just was not preparing for retirement in any way. He was preparing to work his ass off to the end, and then when he got to the end, he was like, I've got no plan. I don't know what I'm going to do now. So he died, and that's what happens to a lot of people with retirement. And sadly, the heartbreak for my mum, it was too hard for her, to be on this planet without him, and all the difficulty she faced at the end, sadly. But the good news is, when you go through these very difficult griefs and traumas, is that you realise, well, I've realised that they're all around me, they're always here. And when we pass, and that's what I believe now, is that you just go see them all again. So you won't know that until you've gone, and, maybe not everyone gets there, but that's how I see it now. It's all an illusion, all of this, all the suffering, all the difficulty, it's just a joke, really. So you've really got to put the humour on it or lighten things up. Because if you don't, you're always in this negative place. And the world that is out there, there are nefarious stuff going on. We can't be naive to that. The reality is, we were talking about the last 3 years, yesterday in a family environment. And yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff that's gone on in the last 3 years, no doubt about it. But one of the most important things for me that you cannot ignore, the inequality of wealth has dramatically increased. It dramatically increased all the way back in 2008, 2010, when, again, the money printing, really kicked in, as a way to solve the end of the Western world. Really, that's what it should have and would have been if China didn't play ball, basically, back then. But, all of these power structures are all the same cloth. They're all rinsing the people. That's really what it comes to. They don't have the best interests of the majority of people because there's so much inequality of wealth. That is real. There's absolutely, it's a joke to even not put light on that. It's sad actually to think that all the money that exists out there and all the resources that exist out there could easily eliminate poverty in the world. No doubt about it. It could. All of these issues are manipulated. It's obvious. That's why, sadly, certain power structures have become more powerful. But there is more of us than them, if you want to look at it like that. And I think this nefarious sort of like agenda or whatever it may be is just, again, it's the Wizard of Oz. It's just, It's some small, usually some scared child acting out a male role as a psychopath who genuinely believes that they're correct, but it's obvious that they're completely not. But if the people don't put up with it, because remember, government is actually accountable to the people, if people start to forget that, how it actually works, i.e. we're controlled by the government or whatever, and then, CBD systems come in and stuff like this, then really it is the fault of the people, isn't it? Why did you not do it? Why did you not at least call it out, or at least have a conversation? Why did you choose apathy, willful ignorance, denial? Why did you, basically effectively become a sheep, a serf, or a slave? It's not forgivable, really. And it's certainly not forgivable to the next generation. It's not. Yes, it's hard right now because, yes, there are a lot of manipulation, no question. It's very difficult to work out what's real and what's real. Who's the good guys and the bad guys, And again, when you're in groupthink, and we saw a lot of that as well over the last 3 years. Oh, you're a traitor, let's say if you're not, I don't know, putting a flag up there or, and all that kind of stuff. It's actually, no. We've got to be wise right now, not dumb. I'm sorry, I ain't really got time for that anymore. I can be forgiving though, obviously, because we're all trying to do the best we can. I like to see the best in people, But there is, Saturn does this. There's an integrity, there is a quality control that exists. And you've got to be wise right now, because obviously health is super important. No doubt, COVID really showed that. You've got to be healthy, That's just the number one. You've got to do whatever it takes to be healthy. Because it doesn't matter, if you're rich but you're sick. That doesn't make, that's not sovereignty. That's not abundance. That's not love. It's not joy. That's like, again, the precious, isn't it? I've done all this to conjure and get everything that I want, but why am I sick? That doesn't make any sense. So if you're going to be abundant, it means you've got to be healthy. You've got to be healthy. So obviously that's the number one, self-love, self-awareness. Do what it takes to make yourself feel healthy. And yeah, you might not have everything you want, your ego desires and all that kind of stuff. But have you got everything you need? And if you have, then you've got to be grateful for it. And you've got to make time for that, Because by being in that state of mind, you're in the best place to receive anyway. You're in the best place to get what you want. Yes, the fallacy of everything's going to arrive right here, right now, is part of the reason why this entitlement to me is so repugnant, because you're missing all the beauty of the journey. You're missing the patience that is required to imagine your dream coming into your life and to see it, feel it, and then serve with it. You're missing all of that. I want it now. This really like childlike mentality, right? And yes, it's true, like with AI, AGI and all the things that are coming, robotics, things are going to happen a whole lot quicker, no doubt, that we're moving in exponential times. You'll be able to put on some contact lenses in the future, have some kind of like graphene suit on. You go into your dream state, 5D printing just creates the spaceship that you're thinking about, and then you come out of the, whatever it is, your pod or your suit, and then you go into your spaceship that you've just been created through 5-dimensional printing, and go, right, go take this for a ride now. It's going to be so weird, like when we get to 2050, and obviously when we get to 2100, and most of us won't be here by then. But seriously, yeah, it's going to get so weird and so bizarre, even by 2030. But for now, we are still in this changing moment. So being here in end times is actually a real gift. It's a real gift, and we're all signed up for it. So if we can relax, be in the heart, understand our emotions serve us, but it's recognizing the difference between a positive and negative emotion. It really, really is. And also being here in conception and perception means we can really start to observe, which is a far greater way of being in the world than being in reaction. Because when you're in reaction, it's defense, self-defense, it's fight or flight, it's all that. But when you're an observer, this is where Tai Chi comes in, right? You can just be very sensitive, and you can easily, avoid problems or add more joy to the world. And then it becomes really wonderful. But it absolutely starts with yourself. Then it starts with your significant other. Then it starts with your family. Then it starts with your community. And if you're adding good vibration to that at the moment, in a very unstable world, because again, the world of form, the world of samsara, 10,000 things, there's a whole war going on right now in it, and, the Ukraine war hasn't been sorted out right yet. And there's all these various things that are going on in the world, the economic stuff I've been talking about for a while. We can't necessarily control that, but as a collective, we can influence the outcome, and our governments have to be responsible to us. So if you lose sight of all of that, then yes, you're walking into a dystopian nightmare. You're walking into a fear of vibration. You're giving up. The plan that you thought was going to come up is now never. And you're in doubt, hell. And the laughable thing is that any moment you can switch that. You can just break that by just, I don't know. Some people, sadly, and I can understand why, sometimes Dionysus is a good thing. You need to just inebriate yourself, drink or whatever, or do anything like that, just to get out of that. And sometimes it's necessary, I get that. But ideally you don't want to do that because you're masking the internal stuff. So again, Tareck Adeeb, is coming out very soon. Path to Peace, the podcast, is coming out very, very soon. Healing's coming very, very soon. And Inaccessible Astrology. We're gonna make all this helpful for you to, let's say, find the root causes. Let's say if there is problems there, have the resources, to feel empowered. And it's a day by day thing, it's an everyday thing. Action is so important. I'm going to sleep early tonight. You know what? I'm going to get away from the missus for a couple of days. It's driving me insane, or he's driving me insane, right? I'm going to just tick one or two things off the list today for work. And I'm not going to feel guilt or shame for things not happening on time, I'm going to just relax and do the best that I can today, I'm going to try my best to sleep, because it's so important to sleep, by the way. It really, really is. If that means, I'm not eating this food anymore, but all right, I'm going to eat that food today because it's going to make me feel better, or it's going to put enough, heaviness in my body to make me sleep. Or even I'm going to fast tomorrow. I've been eating too much food. So, you know what? I'm going to have a day of fasting, I'm going to make the time and effort, even though my significant other drives me insane. I'm going to actually go on a date and do everything I can. And I'm going to say I'm sorry, I'm going to pick up the phone to my irritating parent, who does my head in. And I'm going to just say, hey, you know what? I love you, and I really hope I get to see you soon, okay? Just out of nowhere, right? You never know how long you're going to be on this planet. I'm going to knock on my neighbour's door, who invited me to a party at the weekend, and I didn't go. And I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Hey, I'm sorry I didn't make it. Thanks for the invitation. How did it go? I look forward to hooking up with you at some point, Because, you will get another invitation then. I'm going to go to that charity and give some of my clothes that I never wear, that is just here, that I've hoarded. And I'm going to give it to that charity because somebody else could definitely benefit from that. Just a simple thing, right? I'm going to give a little bit of money to that homeless person that I've seen time and time again, who is homeless, yeah? Or I'm going to, talk to them if I don't feel I should give them money, if let's say they've got an alcohol habit or something. But I'm going to at least talk to them, acknowledge them that they exist. At least do that today. That's what I'm going to do today, I'm going to face that fear that has always been there, and I'm going to accept that it is my fear, and I'm not blaming anybody else for it. So, okay, I'm going to get an EMDR session, or I'm going to go for a massage or an acupuncture session today, and I'm just going to do it, okay? And I don't care how much it costs. I've got to love myself more, and I've got to do what's right for me, because I can't keep living this fear matrix anymore. So all of these examples that I've given you are just such simple things that you can do, if you love yourself more. You've got to be sovereign right now. If someone's pissing you off, like your job, it's like, you know what, fuck this, I need to take a day off. Just need to take a day off, I know I've got all these responsibilities, but I'm going grey now, I'm starting to stress, I'm not enjoying my family, I'm always in this place of stress. Fuck it, I'm taking a day off tomorrow, and fuck you. If that's what you have to say as well, because you might be so loyal and attached to this organisation that you want to do what's best for them. But you're losing your sense of self. You know, you shouldn't feel guilt or shame if it's like, look, I just need to love myself more. I need to take time out. You've got to do it. So all of these things are going to help during this Venus retrograde, because that's really the theme right now. You know, we're in the Mercury retrograde shadow as well. You know, it's like, it's hard to get anything done right now. You know, it's really difficult. So just doing those little things every day help, because at least you're going to get there. You know, it's the slight edge. It's easy to do, it's easy not to do. But don't beat yourself up at the same time. Don't self-flagellate yourself, you know what I mean? Like, because, you know, you didn't get it done today. You know, just relax. Laugh at it. If your partner and it's just reaching its natural end, you know, because there's no way it could continue, then there's obviously a reason why you got together in the first place. If it's a karma, if it's a dysfunctional relationship, if you're in a job that is like a karma, like, you know, fucking hell, I feel like I'm being punished, you know, then it's got to come to a natural end, and it's just a matter of time. So there's opportunity for you to work out what needs to happen so it doesn't repeat in the future. And that's very, very important, because as long as you're attending to yourself at a time like that, when it's coming to a natural end, it's just, there's no way it's going to continue. It's like, if I continue in this job, I'm going to die, you know, because I can't do it anymore. Or this relationship is just, sadly, it's a karma, it's dysfunctional, it's got to end. You've got to start thinking about an exit strategy, you know, and this can happen at Venus retrograde. At the same time, if things are being liberated, i.e. things are coming up that giving you the potential to continue the relationship, even if it's really bad, then it's a case of, right, we can really get this shit, you know, this toxic stuff out now. We can take responsibility that we've both created it, because that's how it works. It's always two people, yin and yang. And if both people are willing to do that, that's what it comes down to. And again, it's not necessarily going to happen overnight. It might be a sensitive process. It might take a bit of support, third party, you know. Then maybe when we get to October, you finally remove this shit, this junk, or whatever needs to go. Or you've forgiven the past, and you don't talk about the past anymore. And you can move forward in a very, you know, healthy way from then on. And you've done it. You've survived. You've passed the test. You've amended the karma, you know, if that's what's going on. Or, like I said before in this reading, if you are in a good place, then you get deeper at times like this, you know. Some couples get married, you know, and they have kids at times like this. Or if they have a family already and they get really tight with that unit and say, right, we're in this together no matter what, and then you start to build a community, you know. You start to attract and be around others who are like you, and you get excited. You're on that bifurcation. You're going up. You know what's coming. You're ready for it. You're ready to take action if you need to. Well, you should always be taking action anyway, but it doesn't have to be anything extreme. Even though that is going to happen in some places. It is going to happen in some places, you know. There have been a lot of clear insight, sadly, you know, that happened over the last 3 years. And a lot of people, you know, didn't really, you know, some people were in a fear matrix. Some people were in common sense. Some people questioned things and they got vilified. Some people went, oh yeah, I know this is bullshit, but I'll go along with it anyway. You know, willful ignorance. Some people probably had insights into what was really going on, and they might have thought, well, look, we know what's going on. We're in this together. Let's just, you know, wear our right jack. I don't really know, to answer the question, what's happened, but we're all in it together, or we're not, you know. So you got to find people like you know, because there's always going to be like vibration. That's just how it works. You know, God is good if you want to look at it like that. There's always a way. You know, man's search for meaning, Viktor Frankl, he found a way, you know, through hell. He found others that were also aware of the hell. Because that's what you got to do. You got to work out that it's hell, you know, in his circumstance. And what you're going to do is die. That's what a lot of people did. You know, they went into fear, went into hell. And that sadistic nature that occurred in that concentration camp was, they were feeding off that fear. I mean, it's so dark and disgusting. It's horrendous. But he didn't go into that fear. You see, that's the beauty of what he did. And he created logotherapy, and he survived the concentration camp afterwards. Obviously, he had to have like so much therapy, you know, after that. But his meaning, or his gift, his service then was about I got through it. I found a way out. Here's the book. Every single person who's listening to this right now has exactly that, has exactly some gift to offer the world. And even if it means just giving your neighbour, I don't know, an apple every day or whatever it is, or going down to the farm and helping out just voluntarily. You know, I do a radio show, for example, I do voluntarily. You know, you can do something to help a community. You know, everyone can. And you can look at yourself, you know, and move beyond yourself as well, the things that are creating negativity. And that's the best you can do, because if you really do that, you're going to have a better relationship, you're going to be more productive, you're going to be happier. So it's very, very important. It's just very, very important right now. During this Venus retrograde, when everything is so reflective, you know, it's like you can't really hide from yourself right now. Yes, you could be in denial, willful ignorance, apathy. You could be in all those things. But my gosh, when you get to October, I fear for you, because it's going to be a lot more extreme then, you know. When you get to April next year, if you haven't looked at yourself, you know, you haven't done the inner work, if you, again, projecting, it's everybody else's fault. You are not doing the work, you know, because it's both. It's always you and the other. You're always responsible for your actions. And if you choose to kick that down the road, it's going to get harder. So the best thing you can do is just to surrender and just accept, you know, accept your flaws, accept where you've gone wrong, and try work at it. And if the other person loves you, you know, they will support you in that regard, and they'll give you time. Yes, there's always something you can do that could be better. You could, like, for example, I could listen better, you know, and by doing that and trying to make time for it and not, again, going defensive or reactive, then that's the work I need to do. So I need to focus on that myself. And once I've got that sorted, then it's either going to help the relationship or it's going to make me feel, actually, this isn't working. You know, so you want to be in a place of empowerment. It's just very, very important, you know, with everyone that you're connected to. Family, significant other, work. And if you're doing the best that you can and, you know, you're happy, you're seeing results, then that's the best that you can do. So it's just a day by day thing. And that is so going to help not only yourself, i.e. happy, it's not going to help your environment, harmony. It's also going to help the entire planet. And that is so true, you know. It really, really is, because it's just the small little things every day. Everyone's doing the same thing. It creates a tidal wave. So anything that needs to be removed will be removed. It is a time of revelation, if you want to call it that. AI, which could be a great fear thing, control. I know that Samuel Harris did a podcast, I haven't seen it yet, on the Diary of SEO, which I want to watch. Talking about ChatGPT, you know, this terrifying thing and terrible thing. And there's definitely truth to that, you know, but it's fear, that, isn't it? It's fear, you know. You see, the problem is at times of great change, the naivety that exists, you know, yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate that comment. The naivety that exists, or the why people feel disempowered. They've forgotten their personal power. I think when people pass, they'll see it. You know, you'll see it then. You'll see how connected you are to all that is, to the cosmos. But when you're in this linear, i.e. human, dharmic or samsaric position, you think you're just that. Like, and we're taught that. Oh, you know, you're not a king. You're not a god. You know, you're not powerful. And yes, you don't want to become arrogant and egotistical with that sort of thinking, because then you start to become, I don't know, delusional. Yes, we all have a place in the order of things. However, no one can mess with your sovereignty. You know, even if you know, like I say, you know, you could be a king or queen, like, I don't know, like the royal family, and they've got so much responsibilities, and there's maybe so much hidden stuff that we don't know about. They've got to deal with that, you know. You might not want to have that life, you know, even though people can look up to these things. Oh, that's amazing, that's amazing. No, actually, I'm sure if you were one-to-one with those people and you were a sovereign individual, you'd be equal to them, because we're all human at the end of the day. Yes, do they have more responsibility? Do they have more power? Absolutely, compared to, let's say, a mundane kind of person. But in terms of their actual personal power, it's equal. And that's why there's such dysfunction in the world. You know, all these people are being, I forgot their personal power. So again, it all comes down to gratitude. You know, you can be here now in your environment and you think, you know what, it's all right. It's not stressful. I've got running water. I've got food in the fridge. I've got friends. I've got family. I've got this. I've got all these little trinkets, you know, that I've got. Hey, that's all right. You know, you don't have huge responsibilities like, you know, in the world like some people do. You can find gratitude in that. You don't want to be that other person, you know, jealous of that other person and all that kind of negative stuff. No, you can say, this is who I am, I'm happy with it. And if you can find that within yourself, then you're doing a lot of good on the planet. If you can start to intend and relax and let it play out patiently, know that if it comes to you, it's for the right reasons, you know, careful what you wish for. That time not having something serves you. You know, watch The Secret, you know, watch it again. And then relax and let things unfold and do the best that you can, enjoy the journey, and then eventually everything will work out. We will get to the other side of this crazy time. The cracks in the matrix will be revealed as long as we act with integrity, in sovereignty. Take action with your intention. If the signs come, take action. If you're feeling bad and all that, take action. If you need to get over yourself, serve someone, you know. Get over yourself. Go do some voluntary work. You'll feel great for it. Give something away. Just do a random act of kindness. You'll be amazed at how you feel about it. You see the universe then start to correspond with that good intention and that integrity. And you start to think, wow, you know, I start to get that belief, that hope, that joie de vivre back. Very important right now. Very, very important. So look, there's not much to talk about, you know, until we get to the new moon next week, when we get to the new moon in Leo. And this is just everything I'm talking about, you know. It's like, that happens on the 16th. It's very much to do right now with being in your heart. This Sun conjuncting Venus as well on the 13th is huge in relation to that. This Venus retrograde. Be in your heart, you know. Learn about, what's it called now? The Heart Math Institute. Type that in. Amy, by the way, we need to start putting these references in more. I'll speak to you about it later, but do that. You know, do some research, you know. The Heart Math Institute. Find out about the power of the heart. Find out about coherence, how it works. Like I say, Tareck Adeeb will start helping with this very, very soon. So that happens on the 13th. And, you know, Venus also squaring Uranus is nothing that I haven't already said. It's mainly to do with the fact that the new world and your place in it, you know, the North Node in Aries, your sovereignty, your participation, your action. So surrender, relax, be at peace. And that's all I'm going to say for now. And I will see you next week. And thanks for staying tuned. I really appreciate it. Be the change that you want to see in the world. It starts with the small things. It really, really does. One day at a time. Okay, with that, I'm going to go and take care.